I'm comparing the Meta Quest 3 and Pimax Crystal today for people who are looking for a PC VR headset to play VR flight and racing simulators. This is a bit of a funny video because at first glance, these are very different headsets. Quest 3 is a general purpose standalone VR headset that you wouldn't really put next to a high-end headset like the Pimax Crystal. The price discrepancy here is huge. Quest 3 is about $500, Pimax Crystal is about $1,600, but stick with me because I really do have an important point to make about these two headsets. I'm Andrew from VR Lowdown. I hope you enjoy this video. Leave me a like if you do, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and leave a comment below if you've got any feedback about these headsets or about this video. I've owned the Pimax Crystal for about 3 months. I've used it extensively. It provides the best visual quality in a VR headset that I have tried to date. Quest 3 I've owned since day one of launch. It's a really well-rounded, polished VR headset that provides exceptional visual clarity, and whilst not as good as Pimax Crystal, it's good enough for most people. It's a great PC VR headset, even though it's predominantly marketed as a standalone headset. If you're looking for a PC VR headset, this is something that you should really seriously consider. So let's look at both these headsets in a little bit more detail. So Pimax Crystal is very much focused at the high end of the VR market. It's a PC VR headset predominantly, although it does have a standalone mode. It has glass aspheric lenses that provide exceptionally clear visuals. It has two QLED LCD panels with a resolution of 2880 by 2880. It has an FOV of about 120 degrees. It has automatic IPD adjustment and eye tracking. It really does go after visual clarity with a vengeance. There are some compromises that become apparent as a result of this focus, but for people who are looking for the absolute best in terms of visual clarity, the Pimax Crystal is terrific. The downsides of the Pimax Crystal include that it is big and bulky. It weighs 960 grams, it's front heavy, and it feels big and bulky on your face. The software works well, but it's not as well polished as the Quest 3 software. The head strap is good, but it's not the best I've ever used. And the other downside is you'll need an absolute beast of a computer to make this run at its full potential. It costs $1,600, which is right at the top end of what you should be paying for a VR headset, and you potentially will need to spend a lot on a computer to run it as well. On the other hand, we've got the Quest 3, which is marketed predominantly as a standalone headset. It's compact and light, but the visuals are surprisingly good. It has pancake lenses, which are nothing short of exquisite. It has two LCD panels with a resolution of 2064 by 2208 per eye. It's got manual IPD adjustment, but no eye tracking. The visuals are a huge step up from the Quest 2, and the visual performance that you get is good enough for almost every activity for almost every user. The base model, 128 gigabytes, costs $500 or about £480. The downsides are it comes with a fabric head strap, which is completely pathetic. It leaves the headset very front heavy and not desperately comfortable to use. If you get the Quest 3, you will need to upgrade to a rigid head strap. You should also get an external battery because the battery life of the Quest 3 is only about 2 hours. I use the official Elite battery strap from Meta. It extends the battery life to about 4 hours. It actually makes it very well balanced and really comfortable. So it solves all of the issues that the Quest 3 comes with out of the box, but it does add to the price. I bought the 512 gigabyte model, which cost me £620, and I bought the Elite battery strap, which cost £130, bringing the total cost up to £750, which is actually quite a bit, and it starts to compare slightly less favourably with the Pimax Crystal, although I appreciate there's still a huge gulf in the price. The Pimax Crystal does have a Crystal SIM edition, which costs $1,450. This comes without controllers, which, if you're buying it exclusively to play VR flight and racing simulators, well, you won't need the controllers anyway, so you can save a little bit of money. So what's my experience been with these two headsets? Well, I got the Pimax Crystal 3 months ago, and I've used it extensively since then. I've almost exclusively used it for PC VR simulation, mainly flight simulators, although some racing simulators as well. I found it to be very easy to use. I've had very few technical issues. Pimax doesn't have a great reputation for its software or the reliability and function of its headsets, but it is getting better, and I have seen this with the Pimax Crystal. I've run into a few minor issues, but these have all been solved relatively easily. It's not a headset you should get if you have no technical knowledge, but equally you don't need to be a VR mastermind to use this headset by any means. It can be slightly more cumbersome to use, and it's not quite as quick to just pick up and start using as the Quest 3, but overall it's been a real joy to use. The main advantage of the Pimax Crystal is the visuals. I mean, when I first got this and I put the headset on, I was blown away. It was by far the best visual experience I've had in any VR headset. The lenses are incredible. There's no distortion. Everything is crystal clear. The panels are amazing. It's just terrific. The peak clarity of the headset is 35 pixels per degree. This is considerably above the clarity of the Quest 3 at 25 pixels per degree. There is a big jump in the clarity between the two headsets. It's not as big of a jump as going from an earlier headset from maybe 3 or 4 years ago up to the likes of the Quest 3, but it is a big jump nonetheless. If you absolutely must have the best visual clarity in a VR headset, if you're a hardcore enthusiast, the Pimax Crystal is genuinely a brilliant headset to buy and use. I've had a fantastic experience using it. On the other hand, if you're not a real VR flight sim or racing sim enthusiast, if you like to play casually or play a few hours a week, you shouldn't even be considering the Pimax Crystal. It's not for you. And that's where the MetaQuest 3 comes in, because historically, I would have recommended headsets like the HP Reverb G2, which is a good, affordable PC VR headset that provides impressive visual clarity. But the Quest 3 blows it out of the water. Even though it's been developed as a standalone headset, it functions far better as a PC VR headset than most other PC VR headsets that have been released in the last few years. The Quest 3 has a resolution of 2064 by 2208 per eye, courtesy of 2 LCD display panels. Now, this is obviously nowhere near as good as the Pimax Crystal, but it's a hell of a lot better than a lot of other VR headsets, and the visual clarity really is excellent. The other huge upgrade compared to a lot of other VR headsets is the lenses in Quest 3. Quest 3 has upgraded to pancake lenses, and they are nothing short of exquisite. The FOV has also been increased to about 110 degrees, and this gets to the point where the goggle effect that's present in most VR headsets is really diminished. So the limited FOV really doesn't bother you that much when you're using the Quest 3. The Quest 3 is good enough that you can play any VR racing game, any VR flight simulator like Microsoft Flight Simulator or DCS World, and have a wonderful time and not have the technology stand in your way and detract from the experience. I can read all the instruments in my cockpit without leaning forward. I can see everything in the distance fairly clearly. Yes, there is some pixelation in the far distance, but it's not that troublesome. It really doesn't bother you, and it won't bother 99% of people who use the Quest 3. The other important factor to bear in mind with these two headsets is the Pimax Crystal uses a DisplayPort cable. So this is able to transmit uncompressed video signal between your computer and the headset. So you're getting the raw video feed to the displays and you're seeing that through the lenses of the headset. Quest 3 uses compressed video signal regardless of whether you're using a USB-C cable or a wireless option. What this means in reality is that you can sometimes see some visual artifacts or some blockiness in the picture on the Quest 3, particularly when you're looking at monochromatic backgrounds, black or white backgrounds. You can sometimes see blockiness that you would also see in a compressed video like on YouTube or something like that. To be honest with you, this doesn't bother me at all, and I rarely even notice it, to be fair. It can be more noticeable when you're using a wireless connection like AirLink or virtual desktop, but I keep my router within line of sight of my headset when I'm using it, and the bitrate stays high, and I really don't notice a huge degradation in the video quality. The audio for these two headsets is pretty good. Pimax Crystal uses off-ear speakers that are very reminiscent of the Valve Index and HP Reverb G2 speakers. They do a great job, and I would expect them to do that, bearing in mind the price of this headset. They're not exceptional, but they're certainly good enough for me and for the vast majority of users. Quest 3 has integrated speakers in the sidearms of the headset. These are pretty good. They certainly meet my needs. For anybody who's a bit more of an audiophile, there is a 3.5mm headphone jack in the side of the headset, so you can plug in your own headphones and use whatever you want. These are both great headsets. If you're an absolute enthusiast, you've got plenty of budget, and you really want the best visual quality, and you're not afraid to put up with a few compromises, the Pimax Crystal is legitimately one of the best VR headsets you can go for today. I've been really pleased with it. It has plenty of detractors, it has plenty of criticisms, but it really is a very, very good headset. So if you're an enthusiast, you should definitely consider it. On the other hand, for the other 99% of people, I actually think the Quest 3 should be top of your list to consider if you want a PC VR headset to play flight simulators or racing simulators. It really is good. Meta are selling it, I reckon, at a roundabout cost. So you are actually getting very, very good value. It does everything that the vast majority of VR users will need. It functions brilliantly as a PC VR headset, but it's also an absolutely cracking standalone headset with great mixed reality capability. So it means that you get to experience all that VR has to offer, whereas with the Pimax Crystal, you are limited to the focused use as a PC VR simulation headset. Obviously, you've heard my opinion, but I want to hear from you guys. Do you think I'm ridiculous for even mentioning the Meta Quest 3 as a PC VR headset for sim fans? Do you think the Pimax Crystal just has too many compromises? Is it too ridiculously expensive to consider? I want to know where these two stand. Obviously, they're quite far apart, but I hope this video has made you realize that they're actually closer together than you think. I've left links in the description below that you can check out and purchase both of these headsets. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. Looking forward to the next one already. Take care till then.